and welcome to On Air. I'm your host, Klara Syrewicz, taking you this week on a journey through the world of despots, disinformation, and dubious inventors. In today's report, we'll be talking about innocuous-looking spyware, so you might want to switch off your smart toaster for the duration of this program, lest it takes offense. I wish I could, for once, not talk about Vladimir Putin, but he isn't making it easy on me. His recent magical mystery political tour offers a great display of his cunning, and we'll show you why. Russia's president went all the way to Turkmenistan and met with Iran's president there, officially to celebrate a great Turkmen poet. Those delicate souls are clearly very fond of exalting verses. Let me just stop right here and ask, what exactly do we know about Turkmenistan? Probably not much, considering it's one of the most isolated and secretive countries in the world, and even with its growing importance in geopolitical affairs, it hardly ever gets a mention in Western media. Its capital, Ashgabat, has been rebuilt to be all white, and even cars in a different color are not permitted. This architectural extravaganza is the brainchild of a series of dictators, including Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, the former president of Turkmenistan, known for his love of DJing, knife throwing, riding a bike while firing guns, or driving a car around a giant pit of hellfire. That's actually natural gas, which has been burning for the last 50 years. As with North Korea, the ridiculous obscures the tragic. Ashgabat is called the City of the Dead because there are no people on the white marble streets. They are too poor to live there. Unemployment is an astronomical 60%. Most Turkmen live hand to mouth. Access to information is non-existent, and total corruption creates dire living conditions. Any journalists who dare to report on these problems, including the lack of drinking water, are doused with acid or thrown in prison, from which they conveniently disappear. The new president is the old president's son. He received the gift of 73% voter support from his dad. And anxious to secure his own gold statue on a horse, he has further curtailed women's rights using methods that wouldn't feel out of place in The Handmaid's Tale. He even went as far as to ban Botox and lip fillers. Now, luckily for Putin, that ban only applies to women. But let's get back to why he was there. Was it to admire this statue? No. The reason is entirely different, and if you don't know what it's about, to paraphrase Bill Clinton, it's the gas, stupid. Turkmenistan ranks 4th in the world in gas reserves. Before the war in Ukraine, when Russian gas flowed to Europe, Turkmenistan remained strongly dependent on exports to China. Gazprom was its second biggest buyer. After the invasion, Russia redirected some of its exports to China, and Gazprom stopped buying, leaving Turkmenistan strapped for cash and more dependent on Russia's goodwill. Meanwhile, with Europe cutting Russian supplies, the Kremlin is already pumping its gas into other pipelines headed west, like the one from Azerbaijan, to evade sanctions and sell its gas under someone else's brand. But Europe has grown wary of these shenanigans recently, and Turkmenistan could serve as a new gas laundering hub for Russia. Hence, a new geopolitical ecosystem is shaping up, with a regional gas initiative soon to be announced, possibly at the upcoming BRICS meeting, one that would involve Russia, Turkmenistan, Iran, and maybe someone who was conspicuously absent from this meeting, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Erdogan doesn't want his NATO allies catching wind of him being in on the deal and evading sanctions, but his outspoken desire for cheap gas and Turkey's membership in BRICS may give him the opportunity to later join the Happy Gassy Family project that Russia is championing. So it wasn't about poetry after all. Can hurricanes shake up the political weather? In the US, Helene and Milton ravaged the southeast of the country, leaving hundreds of people dead, billions in damage, and a storm of fake news. Donald Trump is at the origin of some of the fake stories, but many actors on America's extreme right don't just amplify his disinformation, they also create their own. Its consequences are devastating for the populations impacted by natural disasters. 2 weeks ago, we showed how in Poland, the September floods were exploited to stoke antagonism towards Ukrainian refugees through fake news about shelters being occupied by migrants. It turned out those posts were created by Russian state trolls. It seems the Republican presidential candidate has taken some cues from them.
They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season.
But that's just the eye of the shitstorm. Enter friendly and helpful fascists from the Patriot Front who like to pose for selfies with hurricane victims while doing good deeds and then disappear once the PR stunt is over. They leave in their wake racist lies about Haitian migrants, claims of electoral fraud, anti-Semitism and, incidentally, denials of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Nothing beats someone else's tragedy to sell your positions to a wider audience. Far-right groups also actively prevent people from getting help by deploying militias that threaten relief workers and even scam victims by stealing federal money transfers through cyber fraud and then claim the money never came. Elon Musk, whose dedication to space exploration rivals only his desire to seek out the darkest armpits of the internet, shared fake news of aid being diverted and alleged efforts to stop people from helping. He probably meant those nice men in face camouflage. Oh, and don't worry, only 41 million people viewed his post. But predictably, nothing beats Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. After stating that Jewish space lasers caused forest fires, she is now suggesting Joe Biden directed the hurricanes towards Republican-leaning states like Florida or to swing states like Georgia and North Carolina in order to prevent people from voting. How, you'll ask? Well, it's uninventive, I'm afraid. It's lasers again. Green lasers, to be specific. So all put together, adventure the hurricanes were created not by warming ocean surfaces, but by migrants, shepherded by green lasers, their moving mass causing a butterfly effect of tornadoes. And because they eat local fauna, but mostly all the cats and dogs, they contribute to the great replacement of home pets by Haitians and Jews from space, who are most likely reptilians, and those are real ecosystem problems. It's time to warn Elon about that.
1.
How would a man responsible for such feats of incredible spatial engineering like last week's landing of the Starship booster rocket risk so much ridicule? And I don't refer to the inane theories we just quoted or even about him live tweeting himself taking a dump. Yes, that happened. No, I'm referring to Mr. Musk launching another innovation stunt, a humanoid robot. Oops, not this one. That was back in 2021 when he announced their creation. This, ladies and gentlemen, to quote the man himself, is your new babysitter. Your 2-year-old will snuggle up to it like right away. Besides the fact they can't really compete with what Boston Dynamics has been making for years, the other problem is that a real babysitter, bartender and cleaning worker were probably locked in some basement activating and voicing the robots, because they don't execute these tasks autonomously despite claims to the contrary. But considering those jobs are usually performed by immigrant communities, it's a great way to make their presence invisible, so congratulations, mission accomplished. And if you thought those robots were creepy, then consider this salacious one from Saudi Arabia. While we look forward to a future of self-driving cars and valet droids, we might first need to focus on the connected hardware that exists in our lives right now. Your car, your fridge, your router, your television can easily spy on you, and you'd be surprised who's on the receiving end of this data breach. Watch our report to find out.
Electric vehicles are a polarizing topic, both in the area of policy and among auto enthusiasts. But there's one thing that's not up for debate: the rapid growth of EV adoption rates. Last year, electric vehicles made up 18% of global new car sales, according to various industry reports. This marks a substantial increase from 14% in 2022 and from just 9% the previous year. This explosion of popularity has been driven by government policies, technological advancements, and growing consumer interest. The global market leader is China, where EVs accounted for over 35% of new car sales last year. European lawmakers are understandably concerned about the possible negative impact of Chinese-made electric vehicles on EU automakers, as Beijing resorts to dumping price schemes while subsidizing domestic production.
When you deal on the same market with people competing with you, with such a level of subsidies which completely makes the market unbearable for your own player, you have to correct it.
Brussels responded earlier this month, pressing ahead with hefty tariffs on China-made electric vehicles, even over Germany's objections. The proposed duties of up to 45% on EVs built in China would cost carmakers billions of extra dollars to bring cars into the bloc. The duties will likely enter into force on October 31st and last for at least 5 years.
Some of the car makers you talk to from China, they say they're just going to absorb the cost. I think they can for now. I think some of them think that tariffs won't last for that long, that somehow the EU and China are going to come to a deal.
This issue has exposed the rift in the 27-nation bloc and its biggest trade war with Beijing in a decade. Germany has been conducting business with China on a large scale in the decades past. So much so that the People's Republic of China is Berlin's #1 trading partner.
The main message or takeaway is always cooperation instead of confrontation. That is relatively clear. You can see nobody likes the tariffs.
The tariff war is meant to stop unfair competition practices such as price dumping. Beijing has also been known to use espionage tactics to gain an edge over Western companies. Last month, the Biden administration went so far as to announce plans to ban vehicles with Chinese software or connectivity-related hardware for that very reason. The Chinese economic model is meant to mirror a capitalist market economy. However, the oversight from the government in Beijing is designed to support domestic production while using the companies to gather invaluable information. A report by the US Department of Homeland Security describes one such case. Shanghai Zhenhua Heavy Industries, or ZPMC, a company owned and operated in the People's Republic of China, dominates the global market of port cranes. ZPMC currently accounts for nearly 80% of cranes in operation at US ports. This is not an exclusively American problem, far from it. Over the past decade, China has secured a significant stake in a network of European ports that are central to world trade and freedom of navigation. Earlier this year, Radio Free Europe revealed that hundreds of thousands of surveillance cameras used in Ukraine relay information to the servers of their Chinese state-linked manufacturers. Russian intelligence services were reported to gain access to these cameras to guide missile and drone strikes against Ukrainian cities. This prompted the Kyiv government to seek alternatives. In 2022, an ex-employee of Huawei was tried for allegedly spying for China. The issue has ramped up international debate over the potential security of using Huawei equipment in communications networks. This shows just how deep the influence of Chinese state-backed companies really goes. The US administration under Donald Trump made it a point to rid itself and its allies of ties with Huawei, especially when it came to the use of their technology for state purposes.
Faster is always better to get this equipment out of their system. It's a security risk. This isn't about commercial interests. This is about protecting the information.
And to bring it back full circle, let's take a look at where Chinese-made cars have the most potential for sales. As European automakers left the Russian market following its invasion of Ukraine, Beijing's vehicles have become the hottest commodity. The market share of Chinese cars in Russia has soared in recent years, from 9% in 2021 to 61% in 2023. Russian dealers have voiced concerns about this surge, fearing that the market may struggle to handle the rapid influx of Chinese cars.
Welcome back. We have Małgosia Zawadka with us. Hello.
Hi, Klara. I'm delighted to be here.
Great to see you here as well. We will go back to a question that was put in the report. Chinese vehicles have proven to be problematic for the Biden administration, not just electric vehicles, but all kinds, because they have software and hardware that apparently collects information about their owners and maybe about critical infrastructure, But worst of all, some of them may be remotely controlled, which means they can cause accidents on demand. There have also been some problems with routers, with other connected technology that was exported from China. So I get the feeling that this is really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to China using its commercial exports for its spying operations.
Well, this is something we all know about, but no one really does much about it, right? The American Congress, they started to talk about some kind of like banning the cars that are made in 2025, 2027, but we know that it's going on right now. So not only cars, like remember the movie Christine, when it turned against the owner. So there are cars, there are refrigerators, there are television sets, and they are all, so we say that the connected televisions, right? Connected cars.
In the US, 3 major telecom companies last month reported in Congress that there was a massive data breach, that they had been hacked by a group that's affiliated with the Chinese regime. There's also a problem with TikTok that we all know about. There's a problem now with Temu, giant sales platform from China. All of these entities collect data. And is there any possible way that this can be prevented and regulated?
So suddenly, American government discovered that Temu, or before there was Temu, it was Pinduoduo, that also was so-called malware, which not, you know, the malicious software that was an app that could actually get into your phone, listen to check on other apps, but even mess with your settings in your phone, right? A little Pegasus. Last month, FBI collected like over 260,000 different radars and cameras. There was a joint operation between American FBI and European countries. So this equipment that was collected, it already collected some data. Where did it go? I mean, we know that it went to China. So now American lawmakers are trying to do how to prevent it. Well, Chinese people, knowing whatever they learn about us from this data, they already try to, you know, they think about something new.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are a product, and knowledge about us is a product.
We've entered, I will call now Miss Shoshana Zuboff. She's an American philosopher and social psychologist. So Shoshana Zuboff says that we are in what she calls surveillance capitalism. And surveillance capitalism is a social order, surveillance-based economic order. The power lies within people who were not officially chosen, because those are the people who have the information. And who are those people right now? This is Mark Zuckerberg, this is Elon Musk. That's why he bought Twitter, right? He lost so much money, but he gained so much power. We are all a fossil fuel for the artificial intelligence that it's getting the information and it's feeding on us, and whoever will know how to use it, whoever will be stronger and less, with less morals to be able to use this artificial intelligence will win in the future or now. So what awaits us is choosing, do we want to be a fossil fuel for America or China?
Thank you, Małgosia. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. Let's meet next week when we will be grilling Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico. And we'll have a bit of a macabre theme in our report, Political Assassinations. See you soon.